In February 1944, Allied bombers destroyed a monastery that had stood for 1,500 years. It wasn't a military target. It held no German soldiers. So why did the Allies level it to rubble anyway? The answer reveals one of the most controversial decisions of the entire war. The Abbey of Monte Cassino was founded in 529 AD by Saint Benedict himself. For centuries, it survived earthquakes, invasions, and wars. By 1944, it towered over the Liri Valley, overlooking the road to Rome. Both armies knew whoever controlled this hill controlled Italy's fate. After the Allied landings at Salerno in 1943, German forces retreated north and built the Gustav Line, a chain of fortifications stretching across Italy. Monte Cassino sat at its very center. The mountain was the key to the whole defensive system blocking the road to Rome. German paratroopers of the 1st Fallskirmjäger Division dug in around the mountain's base and slopes. They built bunkers, machine gun nests, and artillery positions into the rock itself. But officially, they had orders to stay out of the abbey. It was declared a neutral zone. In January 1944, Allied troops attacked across the Rapido River below the abbey. American and British soldiers were cut down by machine gun fire from the heights. The crossing became a slaughter. Survivors reported the monastery seemed to watch over every failed attempt. Soldiers on the ground became convinced German observers were using the abbey to direct artillery fire. From that height, every Allied movement in the valley was visible for miles. Whether or not it was true, the belief spread fast through the exhausted, frightened troops. General Bernard Freyberg, commanding the New Zealand Corps, demanded the monastery be destroyed. His men had suffered heavy losses trying to take the hill. He argued that sparing the building was costing Allied lives. Higher command faced growing pressure to approve the strike. On February 15, 1944, over 200 Allied bombers dropped more than 1,000 tons of bombs onto the abbey. Within hours, 1,500 years of history collapsed into dust and rubble. The strike killed civilian refugees sheltering inside, along with monks who had chosen to stay. Here's the bitter irony. Before the bombing, German troops had genuinely avoided the abbey itself. But once it lay in ruins, the rubble made perfect defensive cover. Paratroopers moved straight into the wreckage, turning broken walls into deadly firing positions. The bombing had achieved the opposite of its goal. Instead of weakening the German defense, it strengthened it. Allied troops advancing toward the ruins now faced an even more fortified position, hidden inside the shattered stones of a building they themselves had destroyed. The first Battle of Monte Cassino had already failed in January. Now the second battle, following the bombing, also stalled. New Zealand and Indian troops attacked through freezing rain and rubble-strewn slopes. But German paratroopers held their shattered fortress. In March 1944, the Allies tried again. This time they bombed the nearby town of Cassino itself into ruins, then sent in troops. The third battle turned the town into a nightmare of house-to-house fighting among collapsed buildings and flooded bomb craters. German paratroopers fought from cellars and collapsed houses, holding out against tanks and infantry for weeks. Allied soldiers nicknamed the ruins the Inferno, despite overwhelming firepower. The third battle also ended without breaking the German defense. Along the coast, the Allies had opened a second front at Anzio in January 1944, hoping to outflank the Gustav Line entirely. But German counterattacks pinned the beachhead down for months. Monte Cassino and Anzio became two linked, bloody stalemates. By May 1944, Allied commanders planned a final, massive assault. This time, Polish, British, American, and French troops attacked together along the entire Gustav Line, stretching German defenses thin across multiple points at once. The Polish, the Second Corps, under General Władysław Anders, was given the brutal task of taking the monastery hill directly. Many of these soldiers had survived Soviet gulags before joining the fight. For them, this battle carried deep personal meaning. On May 18, 1944, after ferocious fighting and heavy losses, Polish soldiers finally raised their flag over the ruins of Monte Cassino. The German paratroopers, ordered to withdraw, left behind a battlefield of shattered stone and thousands of dead. The battles of Monte Cassino cost over 50,000 Allied casualties and roughly 20,000 German losses across 4 months of fighting. It remains one of the costliest and most drawn-out battles of the Italian campaign. After the war, the abbey was rebuilt stone by stone, using photographs and surviving fragments as a guide. Today, it stands once again above the Liri Valley, restored almost exactly as it looked before that single day in February 1944. Monte Cassino remains a haunting lesson in war. Destroying a symbol does not destroy an enemy. Sometimes it only gives them better cover. Was the bombing a tragic mistake, or a decision commanders felt they had no choice but to make? 365 Shars. The German paratroopers defending Monte Cassino were among the most feared soldiers in the Wehrmacht. Allied troops nicknamed them the Green Devils for their toughness and camouflage smocks. Even after months of bombing and artillery, they held their positions with almost fanatical discipline. The town of Cassino itself had a population before the war of around 20,000 people. Most had already fled by the time the fighting reached its peak. But those who stayed sheltered in cellars and ancient tombs nearby, trying to survive amid a battlefield that had swallowed their entire town. The final assault in May 1944 was codenamed Operation Diadem. Unlike earlier attempts, Allied commanders spread their forces across the whole Gustav Line at once, forcing German defenders to choose where to concentrate their strength. It was this broader strategy, not firepower alone, that finally broke the line. Historians still argue today whether bombing the abbey was ever militarily justified. Some documents suggest German troops truly stayed out of the building until the ruins gave them cover. Others argue Allied commanders acted on real intelligence. The full truth remains debated to this day. Just weeks after Monte Cassino finally fell, Rome was liberated on June 4, 1944. 2 days later, the world's attention shifted entirely to Normandy. The brutal months-long struggle for one Italian mountain was quickly overshadowed by the invasion that followed it. Today, the rebuilt abbey stands as a UNESCO-recognized site, and Polish, German, and Commonwealth war cemeteries surround the hill. Thousands of visitors climb Monte Cassino every year, many unaware that the peaceful monastery once marked one of the war's deadliest and most controversial battlegrounds.